It is May 10, 1981. This is Mahathir Mohamad. He has just been sworn in as Malaysia's fourth Prime Minister. At 55 years old, he stands before a nation still finding its identity, still struggling to escape the shadow of colonial rule. Malaysia is agricultural. Malaysia is dependent. Malaysia imports everything it cannot grow from its soil. But the man taking the oath that day refuses to accept this reality. He envisions something else entirely. Skyscrapers piercing tropical skies. Highways connecting every corner of the peninsula. Factories humming with productivity. A national car rolling off assembly lines. Malaysia transformed from a sleepy agricultural backwater into an industrial powerhouse that commands respect on the world stage. This is his vision. This vision will cost him everything: his reputation, his relationships, his legacy. Because to build modern Malaysia, Mahathir will crush dissent, silence critics, and rule with an iron fist for 22 years. He will detain activists without trial, destroy judicial independence, and centralize power in ways that make his predecessors look like gentle Democrats. Yet by the time he steps down in 2003, Malaysia will be unrecognizable. The gross domestic product will have multiplied eightfold. Kuala Lumpur will boast the tallest twin towers in the world. The country will manufacture its own automobiles, operate world-class airports, and connect every major city with superhighways that rival anything in the developed world. This is Mahathir Mohamad, the man who built modern Malaysia by becoming everything he once opposed. When Mahathir assumes power in 1981, Malaysia faces a crossroads. The economy depends almost entirely on rubber plantations and tin mining. Raw materials flow out. Finished goods flow in. The country exists as a supplier to richer nations, forever trapped in the cycle of extracting resources and importing everything else. Mahathir looks around him and sees the Asian tigers. South Korea transforms from war-torn poverty to industrial might. Taiwan builds semiconductor empires. Hong Kong becomes a financial hub. Singapore, that tiny island Malaysia ejected just 16 years earlier, already outshines Kuala Lumpur in almost every measure of prosperity. This stings. Singapore was supposed to fail without Malaysia. Instead, it thrives while Malaysia stagnates. So Mahathir makes a decision that will define his entire tenure. In 1982, he announces the Look East policy. Malaysia will no longer imitate the West. Instead, it will learn from Japan and South Korea. It will adopt their work ethic, their discipline, and their relentless focus on industrialization and technological advancement. But learning from others is not enough. Mahathir wants Malaysia to leap directly into the modern world, and he wants it to happen fast. He begins dismantling the old economic structure with surgical precision. First comes privatization. Government-owned enterprises that have grown fat and inefficient must go. This included the national airline, telecommunications, utilities, and even postal services. Private companies will run them better, faster, more profitably. The proceeds from these sales will fund the massive infrastructure projects Mahathir has planned. Next comes foreign investment. Malaysia opens its doors to multinational corporations, offering tax incentives, skilled workers, and political stability. American electronics giants arrive first. Japanese manufacturers follow. European companies establish regional headquarters. Suddenly, Malaysia transforms from an agricultural exporter into a manufacturing hub. Results come quickly. Throughout the 1980s and the 1990s, Malaysia achieves annual growth rates exceeding 7%, sometimes 8%. The economy expands so rapidly that economists coin a term for it, the Asian miracle. But growth numbers tell only part of the story. Mahathir understands that truly modern nations require symbols of their advancement. They need monuments that announce their arrival on the world stage. In 1983, he launches the National Car Project. Critics call it madness. Malaysia has no automotive industry, no engineering expertise, no manufacturing infrastructure. Why compete with Toyota and Mercedes when you can simply import their vehicles? Mahathir sees deeper than the critics. The National Car Project is not about transportation. It is about transformation. Building cars requires steel mills, rubber processing, electronics manufacturing, precision engineering. It creates thousands of jobs, trains engineers, develops suppliers, builds an entire industrial ecosystem. The partnership with Mitsubishi produces Proton, Malaysia's first national car. The vehicles are modest, unremarkable, sometimes problematic, but they represent something profound. Malaysia can manufacture complex products, not just extract raw materials. Infrastructure follows next. The North-South Expressway stretches from the Thai border to Singapore, connecting every major city with modern highways. For the first time in Malaysian history, goods and people can move efficiently across the entire peninsula. Kuala Lumpur International Airport rises from palm oil plantations, its soaring design announcing Malaysia's technological sophistication to every arriving visitor. The multimedia super corridor creates a high-tech zone stretching from the capital to the new airport, offering world-class internet infrastructure and generous tax incentives to technology companies. Then comes Mahathir's most audacious project, the Petronas Twin Towers. At 452 meters tall, they will be the tallest buildings in the world when completed. Malaysian engineers design them. Malaysian companies build them. Malaysian steel forms their structure. The towers serve no practical purpose that smaller buildings could not fulfill. They exist purely as symbols, declarations of Malaysian capability and ambition. Every photograph of Kuala Lumpur's skyline will feature these gleaming spires, forever associating Malaysia with modernity and progress. But symbols require substance. In 1991, Mahathir unveils Vision 2020, his master plan for national development. Malaysia will become a fully developed nation by the year 2020. Not just economically developed, but socially, politically, and technologically advanced. The mathematics are daunting. Achieving developed status requires sustained annual growth of 7% for 30 consecutive years. The economy must expand eightfold from its 1990 baseline. Malaysia must transform from a middle-income developing nation into a high-income industrial powerhouse within a single generation. Vision 2020 outlines 9 strategic challenges Malaysia must overcome, creating a united national identity across diverse ethnic groups, building a knowledge-based economy driven by innovation rather than cheap labor, developing world-class infrastructure and telecommunications, establishing Malaysia as a regional hub for finance, technology, and manufacturing. The vision captures imaginations across Malaysia. Suddenly, the nation has a destination, a timeline, a measure of success. Citizens can visualize their country's future and their role in building it. Yet beneath this inspiring rhetoric lies a darker reality. Mahathir's Malaysia is not being built through democracy. It is being constructed through control. By the mid-1980s, opposition voices grew louder. Activists questioned the concentration of power. Journalists investigated government contracts. University students organized protests. Civil society leaders demanded transparency. The noise became too much for Mahathir to tolerate. On October 27, 1987, he strikes. Operation Lalong sweeps across Malaysia like a storm. Police arrest 106 people in coordinated raids. Political activists disappear into detention centers. Opposition politicians vanish from their homes. Intellectuals, students, artists, scientists, anyone who dares question the government finds themselves behind bars without trial. The Internal Security Act becomes Mahathir's weapon of choice. No courts, no lawyers, no appeals. Just indefinite detention for anyone deemed a threat to national security. Who determines what constitutes a threat? Mahathir himself. Tunku Abdul Rahman, the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, watches in horror. He warns, "We are on the road to dictatorship." He adds, "This is no democracy." His words carry no weight. The old Malaysia is dying. Mahathir's Malaysia is being born through force. Operation Lalong sends a message that echoes through every newsroom, every university campus, every opposition office in the country. Challenge the government at your peril. The press learns to self-censor. Academics avoid sensitive topics. Politicians choose their words carefully. Dissent does not disappear entirely, but it retreats into whispers and shadows. 1 year later, Mahathir strikes again. This time, his target is the judiciary itself. When the Supreme Court begins asserting its independence, when judges dare to question executive power, Mahathir moves swiftly. The Lord President of the Supreme Court, Tun Saleh Abbas, is suspended and eventually removed from his position. The message is unmistakable. In Mahathir's Malaysia, the executive branch reigns supreme. The legislature serves his agenda. The judiciary bends to his will. Separation of powers becomes a quaint constitutional theory with no practical application. Critics label him authoritarian. Mahathir shrugs off their accusations. He says he is often accused of interfering in people's lives, and he adds that if he had not, we would not be here today. For him, the choice is simple: order or chaos, progress or stagnation, his way or national failure. And the results seem to prove him right. While other developing nations struggle with corruption, ethnic violence, and economic stagnation, Malaysia surges ahead. The stock market climbs, foreign investment pours in, new factories open monthly, the middle class expands rapidly. Malaysians begin driving their own cars, living in modern apartments, sending their children to universities. Rural villages gain electricity and running water. Highways replace dirt roads. Hospitals acquire advanced medical equipment. The transformation touches every corner of society. But progress comes with a price that extends beyond political freedom. Mahathir's development model favors certain communities over others. Malay businesses receive preferential treatment through government contracts and licenses. Chinese and Indian entrepreneurs face subtle but persistent barriers. The new economic policy, designed to redistribute wealth from Chinese to Malay hands, becomes a tool for rewarding loyalty and punishing independence. Cronyism flourishes in this environment. Close allies of Mahathir receive lucrative deals to build highways, airports, and telecommunications networks. The line between public service and private enrichment blurs beyond recognition. Malaysia Inc. becomes the unofficial name for a system where government resources flow to politically connected businesses. Yet even corruption serves Mahathir's larger purpose. By enriching his supporters, he ensures their loyalty. By controlling access to major contracts, he maintains discipline within his coalition. The economy grows, his allies prosper, and political stability endures. It is a brutal but effective form of governance. International observers struggle to categorize Mahathir's system. He wins elections regularly, but opposition parties face systematic disadvantages. The press operates freely within carefully defined boundaries. Civil society exists but knows its limits. Malaysia is neither fully democratic nor completely authoritarian. It occupies an uncomfortable middle ground that defies easy classification. By the mid-1990s, Mahathir's Malaysia has become a showcase for authoritarian modernization. Delegations arrive from across the developing world to study the Malaysian model. How do you achieve rapid economic growth while maintaining political stability? How do you modernize without westernizing? How do you build a developed nation without embracing liberal democracy? The answers lie in Mahathir's relentless pragmatism. Ideology matters less than results. Individual rights yield to collective progress. Democratic niceties bow before developmental imperatives. Malaysia will reach the promised land of prosperity, even if some citizens must be dragged there against their will. But this system contains the seeds of its own crisis. Because in 1998, the Asian financial crisis will test every assumption underlying Mahathir's Malaysia. And when the smoke clears, his greatest ally will become his most dangerous enemy. In 2003, after 22 years in power, Mahathir Mohamad steps down as Prime Minister of Malaysia. The nation he leaves behind bears no resemblance to the one he inherited. Where once stood rubber plantations and tin mines, gleaming factories now produce electronics for the world. Where dirt roads once connected sleepy villages, superhighways carry millions of vehicles manufactured in Malaysian plants. The Petronas Twin Towers pierce the Kuala Lumpur skyline, announcing Malaysia's arrival among modern nations. The economy has grown eightfold. Poverty has plummeted. A thriving middle class enjoys prosperity their grandparents could never have imagined. Yet this transformation came at a cost measured not in ringgit, but in freedom surrendered and voices silenced. Mahathir built modern Malaysia by crushing dissent, centralizing power, and ruling through fear as much as vision. He proved that authoritarian modernization could succeed where democratic development had failed. Today, Malaysia stands as testimony to an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes nations reach greatness by abandoning the very principles they claim to cherish. Mahathir's legacy forces us to confront a question that echoes across the developing world. Is freedom a luxury poor countries cannot afford, or a foundation no truly great nation can survive without? This is Mahathir Mohamad, the father of modern Malaysia, the man who built a nation by becoming everything he once fought against.